one of our biggest objections when our potential customers are looking at eWebinar, like one of the biggest questions they have is, are people going to appreciate, pre-recorded content as much as they appreciate live? And I would say that's one of the things that stopped them from trying it, because it's something new, right? So have you had that thought before you started, and how did you overcome that?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. We actually did. And occasionally we have people that'll say, "Hey, is this a recording?" And we're very transparent about it. And
Hmm.
we'll tell people, "Hey, look, while the webinar itself is recorded, I'm here for you. I'm answering your questions live," because that's the same experience that they would have if they were attending a Zoom meeting, or if they were attending it through
Hmm.
Teams or Google Meet or something like that. The experience that they're having, the live interaction, is through the chat.
Hmm.
Unless you're doing a one-to-one type training, which is a totally different scenario. And we don't use eWebinars for that. As a matter of fact, to your earlier question, using eWebinar to do these scalable recurring webinars has freed up the time so we can do more one-on-one trainings, so
Hmm.
that we can, give that elevated service to those folks that might just need a little extra handholding or additional one-to-one training. Whereas, before that, we didn't have the time or the capacity.
Yeah.
So we've seen some pros there. But, as far as the actual experience, I think it comes down to how you manage your eWebinars as a team. For
Hmm.
us, just the flexibility of being able to answer questions in so many different ways. We can answer them through Slack. Oh, there's a notification. Somebody's asking a question in eWebinar. We can have designated eWebinar moderation time where somebody is assigned to watch the queue in eWebinar through the universal dashboard, where they don't, even though we run hundreds of webinars at any given time, we can just answer those questions that come in because they're all right there. We don't have
Yeah.
to have, 15 different versions of it open. So it really just comes down to how you're managing your
Yeah.
moderating schedule.
Yeah, and you can be kind of multitasking at the same time,
Yeah.
because there's not like a constant stream of questions. Just I
No,
guess
not at
as
all.
you create content, you realize, what kind of objections you can handle in the content itself to kind of lower your own support.
And you know what? And because if you've ever moderated webinars, whether they're live or through eWebinar, you tend to see some of the same theme of questions come across.
Hmm.
And what I love about eWebinar is that I don't have to re-record the entire webinar. I can just pop in an interaction maybe 2 minutes
Yeah.
before I expect that question to come in, because we always know right around the 10-minute mark, somebody's going to ask a question about this. We
Yeah.
do a preemptive strike and we'll add an interaction, and we'll just say, "Hey, we get this question a lot. Let's answer it right before." Say, "Hey, here's the answer. You may be thinking X, Y, and Z. Here's some additional information about that." And because you've got interactions that you can add downloadable content to, or pro tips, links out to other resource articles, it's been really,
Mhm.
really helpful for us to manage a webinar. You can't really do that in a live experience. If you do, you end up, we always joke around here, you end up packing 10 pounds of stuff in a 5-pound bag and oversharing on one webinar. So,
Well, there's a lot of companies, bigger companies like you guys, when they used to run live webinars, they would have two people, right?
yeah,
One who would deliver and one who would
100%.
respond. But most companies, I would say, don't have that kind of resource.
Right, right. And so you don't need that now because you've got the content, which, by the way, you can create really good polished content, or you can just take one of your best recordings and upload it. That's what the other thing I love about it. Swapping out recordings is really easy. You don't have to reset up an entire webinar. If you've got an update, you need to change out one of the recordings, you just go in and swap out the recording. You've got to change in the interactions, you just go swap
Mhm.
it out. You don't have to reinvent or redo an entire new session because, it's made it really easy.